Hey guys, so welcome back to our tutorials. And in today's tutorial, we're going to create this Star Wars poster or a card. So this is more of a card detail. And then you're going to use HTML and CSS to create this. It's not that hard. It's a bit simple. And without wasting time, let's get started. So I've already saved the project to the browser. This is the blank HTML. And then before we forget, let's create a style.css file. It's blank. And then let's go back to the index.html and link up that style.css. And this, you might notice that this corresponds to the file name we have here on top. So if you can try out creating this UI and share a screenshot of what you come up with, that would be very good. You can share that in the comments. Otherwise, let's continue and see how we can create this. So before we continue, there's some prerequisites styles we need to add. First thing, I want to add a font called Open Sans. So I'll just go to fonts.google.com and look for Open Sans. So I've shown you this countless time, but maybe someone is new here. So we can click Get Font, and then Get Embed Code, and then we are looking for Open Sans. You can delete other fonts that you might have. Go to the import, and then make sure the import only imports one font family. So we just copy this. We are using the import because we want to add it into the CSS file. So after that, let's go to the body. Let's style the body, and then let's add the font family. And then you can see here on the bottom, it tells you the font family you are supposed to add. So you just copy this and paste it. Right? So, and that's it for the fonts. Let's go back and let's continue now. So the next thing I want to add the prerequisites for the CSS. First of all is to make sure the margin is 0. The padding is 0 as well. And the box sizing is border box. Just like that. And then if I come back here, let's start creating this card. So you're just going to create a div with the class of card. So we can say .card. And then how are we going to start at this? So what I'm thinking, this is a card. The card is the whole thing. And then inside this card, we do have the heading. I can see the heading has two elements, the left element and the right element, which shows the ratings. All right. So this is the heading. I can say this is the heading of this card. Inside that heading, we have two elements, the left and the right. Inside the left, we have two more elements. We have the heading and the genre. And then the next thing is after that, we have some more details. So this one is a section on its own. So here we have the poster and then we have the content or the details. Inside the details, we have like the synopsis. And then we have some other more details that now have actors, directors, then producers, all that. So, and then at the bottom, we also have like the footer of this card, but we can give it a name of a summary, whereby now the first section shows the price and the button to buy, and the last one shows a call to action to go and watch the trailer. So without wasting time, I'm going to create the heading first. So what I'm going to do here is that I'm going to create the heading. So I'll create a div with a class of heading, and inside that div, I'm going to create another div for the left. This is just for illustrations. And inside the left, we have the heading, which says Star Wars. And then the last, JD. And then inside that, we also have the action and adventure, the genre. So I can use a p tag and say action and adventure. As a recap, we have two elements in the heading, the left element and the right element. The left element happens to have two elements, heading, which is this heading, and the genre. And then after the left, so we can now create the rating, but the rating essentially we can give it we don't have to create a div because this is one element. So I'm going to use a p tag and name it rating. That's the class. Then inside the rating, I'm going to create a span. So I can say span the rating of 7.4, because the reason I'm using a span is because you can see now this whole thing is a paragraph, but now we also need to specify this as another element because we need to give it a different color. So that's why I'm using that. And then after that, then we add /10, just like that. And if you go back, you can see now everything looks as we expect. So before we continue, let's start styling let's put this card in the middle of the page, because I know in TikTok or it can't, some of these things in the edges are not visible. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to display flex here and justify content to the center. That is our card. And then I'm going also to add a padding to the body. Let me use 2rem so that the card is pushed on top. And then let's grab the card. The first thing you might realize on the card we have is that it has a box shadow. I showed you how you can create box shadows. You can just come here and say box shadow generator on the Google. And then you can go ahead and play around and come up with a very good box shadow for usage. So I'm going to give this card a width, and this I'm going to use a 500 pixel width. And then let's give it a box shadow. So you can say box shadow. So the shadow I've specified here is 1 pixels, -1 pixels, then 3 pixels, 19 pixels, -4 pixels, and then RGBA, and then we can have 0, 0, 0, 0. Essentially, it's black with a grayed out opacity. This is the box shadow I came up with. So -1, 3 pixels, 19, -4, RGBA, 1. So we have more than 4. And then you can see it there. So how does the box shadow work? So let's hover over the box shadow. There's a syntax. I think we start with the box shadow syntax. So the box shadow syntax, we have the horizontal offset. We start with the horizontal offset, the vertical offset, the blur radius, and the spread radius. So all these, you can even see them. So this is the syntax, the left, the horizontal, the vertical, the blur, the spread. So you don't have to memorize all these. These you can just find them. You can just find them whenever you need them. And also you can use generators to show you. The next thing you might realize is that in the card, we have the elements are too close to the edges. So let's add some padding. So I'm going to say padding 1rem. That looks a bit nice. The next thing is that these edges are too sharp. So we can give the card a border radius of 5 pixels. That will make it not sharp. And then the next thing I'm going to do is, now inside here, what I need to do now, we said that we have the left element and the right element. So the left element has 2 elements, the heading and the gender. So what I'm going to do is to display the heading element flex. So we gave it a class of heading, so we can say heading and then display flex. You can see it. This one has been displayed flex. Then we justify the content space between. You can see now the tag goes to the end, and then we can align items to the center so that this tag is exactly in the middle with the left hand side, and then that's it. The next thing, let's grab the p tag /span. So this is in the right, we have the rating, and then span is what we want to style. So what I'm going to do now is I need to capture that. So the rating, and then we can capture it via .rating, and then we grab the span. And then let's give it a color of, let me create this color here as a variable. So I can say blue is equals to, no, blue, and then we can say hash 28 70 ff. And then now here we can reference that color variable by saying variable, and then we want the blue variable. And then that's it. You can see it now changes its color. And the next thing, let's make it semi-bold. So we can say font weight 600. That looks a bit nice. The next thing is that now the left-hand side, the paragraph is blue. So we can capture the dot left and then the paragraph. So we can say now here dot left, and then we capture, we can say, let's scope this from the heading. Then we say left, then P. The reason we are scoping is that we first have to go to the dot heading element. So we have to scope this into the heading. So it will come directly and search inside the heading and then look for the left. So outside this heading, if you have other left and right, then that won't work because it is going to scope via the heading. And then you can just say color, then the variable, and then blue. And then you can see it. I think we are done on that section. So let's move on to the next section. We say the next section also has two elements, the left hand side and the right hand side. So we are finished with the heading. Let's go now to I'll call it a content. I think I can call it content. So we can say dot content. Now the content will hold these two elements, the left hand element and the right hand element, which is this whole thing. So inside that, we can say now we have the first one, the first div. Instead of calling it left, we can call it poster because it is a bit unique. And then inside the poster, we need an image. Now, how do we get this poster? So you can get any Star Wars poster you'd like, but if you want to follow along, you can go to my GitHub repository. So let me go to GitHub /TechWithTwin/TikTok projects. Go to my TikTok project and then look for the project named Star Wars. So let me make this, and let me enlarge this, and then look for Star Wars here. And then you can find a poster in the images. So you also have another image, which is the play. This play will be used here. This is the play SVG. So you can copy that as well. So, but for now, let's focus on the poster itself. This is the poster we are going to work with. Go ahead and copy that, and then let's continue. So we said that we have that poster. Let me copy that poster. I'm going to create a folder with the name of images. Let me use images. And then in the images, I'm going to grab these two images. So I've grabbed them, and then let's continue now. So to reference the image, it's in the current folder, and then images, and then poster.webp. So if you do that, you can see now the poster is too large. We just want a snippet. We just want it to be a bit small. So how we can do work around this is we can give the width in the image element itself. Instead of going to CSS and styling the image, we can tell the browser to request a small size image. So we're going to say width, and let's just do 200. And then now you can see it. It's there. All right. We are done with the poster. The next thing, let's focus on the details. So this is what I called it. So this one is the poster. This is the details. So how can we work around that? After the poster, let's create a div with the class of details. Inside the details, we have now the synopsis, which has this title and then the content. So I'm going to create another div and call it synopsis. Inside that, I create a heading level 4 and then say about the movie. So about the movie. And then I have a paragraph. Let me just copy this. It's a long text. And then I'm going to say now here paragraph, paste that in. I hope now you can see. So we have now, we added the left hand side. We are now in the right hand side, which had the class of details. And then inside the details, we are going to add the synopsis. This is the synopsis, and then we can add the details. So I'm going to call this next class the more details. So we have the synopsis and then another div and say more details. Inside the more details, we have now 3 elements, 1, 2, 3. You can see 1, 2, 3. So the first element will be the actors. So I can create a div and say dot actors. And then inside the actors, I'm going to create a heading level 4 and say actors. And then I'm going to create those actors. So the first one is Oscar Isaac. The next one is Mark Hamill. The next one is Casey Ridley. The next one is John Boyega. Finally, let's add Kelly Mary. We can get to that. So we have 3 elements, the actors, and the next one is now directors. So let's add another one and call it directors. Let's add the second element. So this one, let's collapse the actors. The next one will be dot director. And then this one should be screenwriter. So it is director versus screenwriter. So let me just edit that. So this one is not director. That one should be the screenwriter. So we am going to give it a class that is a mix of director and then the screenwriter. And then still now, this one should have 2 elements now. So we have 1, 2, 3. We have 3 elements inside details. So we know we have synopsis and details inside the synopsis and more details inside the details. So synopsis, more details inside the details. Now the details, more details has the actors, the second one which has the directors and the screenwriter, and then finally it has the producers. So the director slash screenwriter, it has 2. So we are going to create 2 divs. So div, and then let's add a h4 and say director, and then paragraph and say Ian Johnson. And then let's add another div. There are 2. The next one is for the screenwriter. So h4. Then we can say screenwriter. And then paragraph and say Ryan. So I'm using the same name. I think I can use John Doe here. All right. So that's the second element inside the more details. You say this is the more details. It has 3 elements, 1, 2, 3. The second element has 2 elements. These are the 2 elements. So 1 and 2. Finally, let's create the final element, which is producers. So we can say producers. And then inside the producers, let's add a h4 and say producers. And then paragraph and say Kathleen Kennedy. Then a paragraph Ram Bergman. All right, so this is well understood. Let's repeat the final time. Inside the details, this is the details. Let's get out of the details. We have 2 elements inside the content. So this is the content. Follow my cursor and see this is the content. Inside the content, we have 2 elements, the poster and the details. The poster, we have the poster itself, which is the image. The details has 2 elements. So the first one is the synopsis. The second one is the more details. And also we'll add another paragraph which now says, let's add it and say more. So now it has 3 elements. The details has 3 elements: the synopsis, the more details, and the more div, or the more text. Inside the synopsis, we have 2 elements: the heading about the movie, and the paragraph, which is this paragraph. That's the synopsis. The more details has 3 elements: the first element, the second element, the third element. But the second element happens to have 2 elements inside, which is the directors plus the screenwriters. So you can see director and the screenwriter. Finally, you have the producers, and still the same thing. Now let's go to the finished document and see all these details. Now they are following each other. So let's first add some basic styles, and then finally we will add the bottom layer. So where do we start? The first thing, we need to display this content side by side. So this is the, let me get this out of the way. Now this is the content div, has the poster and the details. All right. So we are going to grab the dot content. So we can say dot content and then display it flex. You can see now they have been displayed flex. So what issue can you realize? When coming to style CSS, you need first to identify the issue and then solve it. So the first issue I can see now, let me make this. All right, I think that is okay. The first issue I can realize is that these contents are too close to each other. So I'm going to add a gap. I'm going to add a gap of 0.8 rem. Just check what will happen here in the middle. You'll get a gap. The next thing is that on our finished version, the content, the text content, let's see, we called it details. So we have poster and details. So poster and details. You can realize the details takes twice as much space as the poster. So how can we do that? We need to add some few properties. We need to tell this one that it should take just 1 fraction, this one, whereas this one takes 2. How can we do that? We grab the dot poster. So we say dot poster, and in flex, there's a way you can specify that. We just say flex 1. Flex 1 tells this side, tells it just take 1 portion. And then we grab the details and do flex 2. What do we do? Nothing changed because there is an issue with the image. It is still doesn't want to squeeze itself, but we are going to fix that. So this one now is flex 1, flex 2. Flex 2 says I will take twice as much space as the element that I'm beside. So if this one is 10 rem, this one goes to 20 rem. So if this whole size is let's see, if this whole size is 75 rem, and this one has flex 1, this one has flex 2, this one will take 50, this one takes 25. I hope you can understand. And the reason the poster is not respecting the size is because of the image. So we are going to grab the image, which is the poster, and then grab the image. This one had the div. So what we can do with the image, let's give it a width of 100%. As soon as we do that, now the details take twice as much space as the poster, right? Let's add an object fit here. An object fit specifies how the image fits. So we are going to use the cover. And then finally, let's add a border radius to the image. You can see the image is very sharp. So you go from the issue and then fixing it. The issue is the image is too sharp. Then how do we fix it? We add a border radius of 5 pixels. And then you can see now it's no longer that huge. The next thing, before even we work around the content, this text is too large. These texts are too large. How can we grab all these texts? Because all these texts are the same. You can see all these are paragraphs. So what we can do is that we can scope that by saying every text inside every paragraph that is inside our card should have some specific style. So I'm going to say scope this to the card and then grab all paragraphs and then add a font size of 0.7 rem. Now if we go back, the font size of everything now becomes small. All right, I hope you can see that. Now the adventure is small, this text is small, this. The next thing, let's go back and see that these now details, they are aligned side by side. How do we do that? We have them here. It's the more details. We just need to display them flex. So we can say dot more details and then display this flex. You can see them. The next issue, let's focus on the issue first and then solve it. These items are too close to each other. So one of the things we could do is to justify content space between. Now they equally take equal space. The next thing is that these heading level 4s are too large because these are all heading level 4s. How can we solve for that? We grab every heading level 4. We say card, every heading level 4, change its font size 0.75 rem. And then let's do a font weight of 600. What do you see? Everything changes. How did I get all the H4s? I used H4s on the headings of all these. What else can you notice? First thing I am noticing is that this Star Wars is too close to the genre, is too close to this content is too close. How do we do that? We grab the card. We come to the card and display this card flex direction column. Then gap it to something like 0.4 m. You can now realize there's some space between these elements. The next thing is that I can see that the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, these, they have the same characteristics. We want to add a space between this heading and this text, this heading and this text, this heading and this text. But before we do that, between this synopsis and the more details, we need space. How do we do that? We go grab that div. The div with the synopsis and the more details, we display it flex and then we work from there. So let's look for the details. Display flex direction of column. And then let's do a gap of 0.3 rem. Now the synopsis, this one and this one are all, let's do 0.35, I think 35. You can see now this is the space I'm talking about. You can see where my cursor is, this space and this space. The next thing you might realize that all these are sharing the same styles. We want this to have some space between this and this. So what I'm going to do is now, I think it's okay. I think it looks nice. You can leave it, but we need to add some. Okay, so let's first style this text. So in every details, in the more details, any paragraph in the more details has this color. So we can go here to the more details and say dot more details and then paragraph and then give it a color of variable and then you say blue. So if you go back, you can see now everything is blue. The next thing is that our director / screenwriter div is too close to each other. You can see it here. So we can go to the more details, then dot director / sw. So this is what I gave it. So this one. So we display it flex. We can say display flex direction column and a gap of maybe 0.5 rem. And then you can see now we get some space between these elements. Okay. Yeah, so I think this one looks nice. We can stop styling from there. Let's continue and add the final step whereby we are just adding this content. So how I see this content as well, I see two elements first, this left element and the right element. I hope you can see that as well. I'm seeing two things, the left element, this is the whole left element, and the right element. Let's go and create them. So we are done with more details. And then now this one we're going to call it summary, because it's a summary. So you can say dot summary. So the summary, and then in the summary we have two elements, dot left and then dot right. So the right has a button. Inside the button you have paragraph that says watch trailer. And then after the paragraph we have now another image. And then we grab the images and then the play.svg. The left one has two elements as well. It has the text with the pricing. So we say $19. We say $19 and then button that says buy. That's all we have here. We have two elements in the summary that are displayed side by side. So how do we do about it? You can see now this one is too large. Let's give it a size as always. So let's go to the right and the width here. Okay, so the width is equals to 20. You can see where they are. Okay, there is an issue. So, all right, so we have the poster. So this one should go inside the details. So we grab this, say Command X. This one should go directly inside the details after the more. Okay. No. This one should go outside in the card, not here. We have the heading, the content, and then it should be here outside. All right, and then we need to display them flex. So we gave them a class of summary. So what I'm going to do now is summary. And then display flex. You can see them displaying flex. Then align items to the center. All right, that's okay. And then let's grab the left hand side. So we say this is the left hand side with the button and the $19. So you can say dot summary. Then we grab the left. Then we give it a flex one. Same thing we did on top. We give this a flex one. You can see now it fills the whole size, but we don't want that. We want to give it the exact styles we gave the top side so that they can be equal. You can see now how this one aligns. This is why we are going to give this element flex one. And then you can grab the summary and then dot right, then say flex 2. You can see now it starts here, but don't worry. Let's first go to the left and then display it flex, align items to the center. You can see flex and then justify content space between. This one divides the available size. And then in the watch trailer, which is the button, right? Let's go to the right, summary right, and then we displayed flex as well. And then justify content. And we want this content to be at the end. So if we save here, you can see the content goes to the end. All right. Something else you might realize is that let's style this button. So we can say dot summary, dot right, and then the button. And then we can display it flex because it has two elements. There's an icon there. Then let's remove the border. So we can say border none. Let's give them a gap of 0.3 rem. There's a gap there. And then we can align items to the center. Finally, let's do a background color. So you can say background color of black. You can see nothing is visible. Let's add a color of white. You can see it. Let's add some paddings. So padding, top bottom 5 pixels, left right 6.5 pixels. You can see now this one looks a bit nicer. And then let's add a border radius. So you can say border radius of maybe 12 pixels. Now that looks like a trailer button. Finally, let's add a cursor of pointer to it. All right. And then let's grab this paragraph. As you can see in the finished version, this one is uppercased. So the paragraph lies inside the button. So you can say summary.write button and then P. Text transform, uppercase. You can see it's now uppercased. And then font weight, let's do maybe 500. Finally, let's grab this text. This one is in the left. So we can say dot summary dot left. And then we grab the P. How am I getting this? So the dot summary class dot left, and then we grab the P. It's very simple. It's still the same thing. So the first thing, let's increase its font size. Font size of 0.8 rem, because this is the price show. And then font weight of semi bold, which is 600. That one looks nice. Then finally, let's style this button. So we can do dot summary dot left and then the button. And how we style this button, first we add the padding. We can do 3 pixels, 14 pixels. You can see it. And then let's make the background transparent. So you can say background color transparent. This one should match up this button. Finally, let's change the border radius. The border radius should be 12 pixels. So for some reason it doesn't show. Okay, not here. It's here. So we save that. Then you can see it there. Let's add some font weight. 600. That's it, guys. We almost got a pixel perfect design. So you can see the finished version and the new version. So thank you for watching until this end. Make sure if you have watched until the end, make sure you like, share with your friends, and follow for more. Thank you.